Audio check. There we go. Check, 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 check. Good morning, good morning, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. Happy Thursday. Hope you guys are having a wonderful day. Hope you guys are having a wonderful and fantastic day. This fine, beautiful day. All right, hold on 1 second. Just got to make sure we're live everywhere. Are we live on the YouTubes? Let's make sure we are live. Let's make sure we are live. All right. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, and that means, hey, it's also a new Fortnite day, too. New season. New dawn, new day, new Fortnite. Ha ha! There we go. Good morning, good morning, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Happy Thursday, happy new season. They got Happy New Year, we got Happy New Season. But yeah, no, just getting everything all set up over here. Just getting everything all set up. Boom, right there. All right, we're live on the YouTubes. Yes, we are. Let's take a look at X. Let's make sure we are live on the X. Are we live on the X? Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. All right. Halal says how many goals? Goals? SGLY how many goals? I don't know what you mean by goals, but I'll give you a head and shoulder. I'll give you like a support line and a resistance line. But right now, SGLY ran up a nice 146%, and currently needs to break above the VWAP right now because it ran up nicely, but now it's kind of breaking its way on down over here. Let me actually get the graffiti pencil activated. It's forming a bit of a pennant, honestly, right over here. It needs to break above this 667 mark right over here, which is where the VWAP is for it to be somewhat interesting to me. Otherwise, has to really break above that for it. Couldn't really do anything else right now. SGLY has to break the VWAP right there. Let me just put that here. SGLY. We called this stock on our private Discord prior to its run up 146%. 146% right there. All right. Halal is asking, does it achieve 8? Well, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. It's one of those things where it went up. It did go up to $8, so it's entirely possible for it to achieve 8. So we'll see what happens, man. It really depends on the volume of the stock, how many people are really investing in it. It does have an 897,000 float, 23 million volume. So as of now, it's really up in the air. It really depends on how many people decide, hey, let's, if they want the stock to go up. So that's really up to them. Yeah, that's not really a thing that can be answered. Yeah, you have to basically, just wait and see what happens there. Yeah, we got to watch the volume, things of that nature. So yeah, SGLY, we called the stock on our private Discord prior to its run up 147%, 146%. All right, and yeah, needs to break the pennant and the VWAP at $6.67 for it to be somewhat interesting to me. Otherwise, not very interesting to me. There we go. There we go. Let's make sure we're live on the Twitch. Are we live on the Twitch? We should be. Yes, we are. Beautiful. All right, let's make sure we are live on the Facebook. All right. We are definitely live on the Facebook. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. There we go. Let's make sure we are live on the TikTok. There we are. Hold on. There we are. Beautiful. All right. Ah, yes, we are. Good, good, good. All right. So, yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that's what we got going on. So, as far as SGLY is concerned, I'm keeping an eye on it. It looks like it's trying to maybe curl up a little bit. It needs to break through that $6.67 mark right there. All right, it needs to break that $6.67 mark right there for it to be somewhat interesting and schmexy to me. Joab says, "Good morning, Banger Nation." Good morning, Joab. How you doing, brother? Hope you're having a wonderful day. Hope you're making lots of money. Money, 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 money. Money. All right, Joab says, "Morning, doubles." Good morning, Joab. I hope you're having a wonderful morning, brother. I hope you're having a wonderful morning. I hope you are having a fantastic morning, and I hope you are doing well. Hope you're making lots of money. You know, hope everything's going well for you, brother. You know how it is. So I'm keeping an eye on SGLY right now. SGLY, keeping an eye on it right there. Need to see it break above that $6.67 mark right there. If it could break above that, we'll see what happens. But it has to break above that 667 mark for it to be somewhat interesting to me. It does have some moments of it having been a bit overbought over here on the RSI as well. So that's another thing to keep noted of. But it is a bit more indifferent on the RSI. It's leaning towards indifference on the RSI. Sorry about that. Had a hiccup. But it's leaning a bit towards that indifference on the RSI. Needs to break upward and break past that VWAP for it to be somewhat interesting to me. Needs more volume right there. So that's what we got going on right there. Marty says, "Good morning, Banger Nation doubles and Joab." Good morning, Marty. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Hope you're having a wonderful day, Marty. Actually, hold on. I got to do the Marty thing. Marty! Yeah, I got to hit him with the Marty. If I don't hit him with the Marty, it feels weird. It feels weird. Gotta hit him with that. Doug's World asks, should I buy at $6.67? I can't tell you whether or not you should buy on that stuff or sell on that stuff. That's not my job. I'm not a stock advisor or a financial advisor. That would actually be illegal, so I'm not going to do that. But I will say this: do what you want to do, whatever you want to do. That's not something that I could really tell you to do or not do. All right, but yeah. That's pretty much it. So really, it has to break above that $6.67 mark for it to be somewhat interesting to me. Otherwise, has to break that pennant. Has to break that pennant, ladies and gentlemen. Joab says, "What's up to Marty?" There we go. There we go. Banger Nation assembling. It's like the Avengers, only, for the stonks. Yesh. The stonk of the stonk Avengers. Yeah. But yeah, hold on one second. Let me just get everything all set up here and ready to go. Let me get all the announcements out and ready. Hope everybody's having a great day so far. I know I am, man. It's a new day. It's a wonderful day. It's a beautiful day. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, it's a new season for Fortnite. So the Coach Meister General is going to be attacking that. He's going to be having a whole thing going on. And by the way, Coach, I heard you got all the sprites last night.
I did.
He did get all the sprites.
I grinded.
Coach collected all 117 Pokemon. I mean, sprite. Obviously not Pokemon, but he collected them like Pokemon. You know what I mean?
I got everything.
He got all the sprites.
Gotta get them.
Yeah. By the way, Coach, my girl says she's very proud of you for collecting all the sprites.
She could check out my sprites.
She's gonna check out the sprites. She said she's very proud of you for saving the little goobers, from the from the war zone there. Yes. The Coach Meister General has gotten the
I had help from my boys and my girls.
Yes.
Paradigm,
Shout out to Paradigm. Shout out to Snow.
Of course, let's not forget Hover.
Yeah, and let's not forget Hover. Shout out to our boy Hover. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. Hey, the Coach Meister General managed to save all 117 sprites, all the iterations, all like the shiny ones, the gummy ones, all that good stuff. He was able to do that. So that's really cool. That's really cool. Congratulations, Coach.
Thank you.
Yeesh. All right.
Proud of my collection.
He is proud of his collection. He got like a bunch of them, and they follow him around like they're his they're Pokemon now. Yesh.
Yes, sir.
That's what he do. That's what he do now. He's like the red of Pokemon of Fortnite. He's like Ash Ketchum of Fortnite, basically. God bless him. Oh, that's awesome. That is awesome. Oh, 1 second. Let me just get all the announcements out here, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get the announcements out. Let me know how you guys are doing, ladies and gents. Put it in the chat. Put it in the chat. How you guys doing while I'm getting all these announcements out here? All right. There we go. There we go. All right. Hold on 1 second. 1 second. All right. All right. So that's what we got going on right here. All right. Good. Good. Let me get this over here. All right. Coach says, hi. Nick on Facebook says, good morning, Double Nicks. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Hope you're having a wonderful day. All right. Hope you guys are all having a beautiful day, this fine day. There we are. I'm just keeping an eye on SGLY, which now hit 121%. It did poke that VWAP a little bit, but then pulled back down. Needs to break above 667 for it to be somewhat schmexy to me. Hello, hello, Banger Nation on TikTok. Hello, 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 everybody on TikTok. Good morning. Hope you guys are having a wonderful day. Hope you guys are making lots of money. Hope you guys are enjoying life. That's what that's what I hope you guys are doing. Right there. All right. Hold on. Let me just get this over here. All right. Let me just get these posts over here. All right. All right. Let me just put this over here right real quick. There we are. And we should be good. We should be good. All right. All right, all right, all right, ladies and gentlemen. Let's take a look at some of the stonks we got going on over here. All right, so obviously SGLY needs to break above 667 for it to be somewhat schmexy to me. Looks like it's testing that VWAP right there. Looks like it's testing that VWAP on SGLY. SGLY needs to break the VWAP at $6.67. Right, and believe it or not, the 90 MA and the VWAP have actually converged at that point right there, and it looks like it's poking above it slightly, just a little bit. Has to hold above 667 right there. All right, it's testing that VWAP right there. Broke above it just a little bit. We'll see what happens. Can it hold above that VWAP? If it can hold above that VWAP, that's a good sign. I like that. I like that. I personally like that right there. Can it break above it? We'll see what happens. We shall see what happens. Has to break above this pennant too. Also got to keep that in mind. Have to keep that in mind. Now, let's get some support and resistance lines over here. If it does break above the pennant and stays above that pennant, it's got some resistance lines that it has to break through right here at $7.11 and $8.43 for it to be somewhat interesting to me. So that's what we got going on right there. That is what we got going on. Has to break above $7.11 and then the higher day at $8.43 for it to be somewhat interesting to me. But right now, it looks like it's climbing its way on up. It looks like it's climbing its way on up, so we'll see what happens there. All right, if it broke above 667, which it looks like it is going to stay above 667 for the time being, has to break above $7.11 for it to be somewhat interesting to me right there. So let me just put that over here, right here. All right, SGLY needs to hold above the VWAP at $6.67. Needs to break the new resistance line at $7.11 right there for it to be somewhat interesting to me. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, let's take a look at BTCT. Now, BTCT actually had some movement yesterday. It did have some movement yesterday. If I remember correctly, this stock actually ran up about 200% and then some yesterday. All right, in total. All right, which we actually called as well, BTCT. Pretty sure we called that stock as well prior to that run that it had going on there. Actually, yes, I'm pretty sure we did. So BTCT, we actually did call the stock both yesterday and earlier today at 403 prior to its run up 116% this morning. So we got that going on. BTCT, we called this stock on our private Discord prior to its run up 116%. All right, as of now though, BTCT did pull back a little bit. Could potentially maybe be forming a cup and handle, maybe. If you look over here, a little bit of a cup, possible handle over here, maybe. Forming a possible cup and handle, we'll see what happens though. Forming a possible cup and handle bull pattern below the VWAPA at $1.59. Needs to break that $1.59 mark and needs to break above that cup and handle right there for it to be somewhat schmexy to nya. All right. Let me actually get this over here. 1 second. All right. Hold on. All right. All right, let's see here. All right. Let me just put this over here real quick. Oh, hang on just a second, ladies and gentlemen. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm back. Sorry about that. I had to grab a drink. Got me some orange juice right here. Ooh, that's that good stuff right there. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, where was I? Oh, yes, BTCT. BTCT has to break above the cup and handle. All right, has to break above this cup and handle right here. Paradigm. Hello. Shout out to Paradigm, by the way. She helped the Coachmeister General get the sprites and secure the sprites. So, Paradigm, how you doing? She said, power of that cinnamon juice on fire. Cinnamon juice? Ugh, I wouldn't be drinking all that. Ooh. It's like doing that sounds like doing the cinnamon challenge, only the cinnamon is a liquid. Like, ooh, that's gonna mess you up a little bit, huh? That sounds like it would be spicy. I know some friends of mine. I have some friends of mine who were like paramedics. They actually said they had to be called. By the way, little thing. They had to be called for the cinnamon challenge because one guy was coughing so bad he hit his head by accident. And they were like, okay, we and like they didn't want to admit they did the cinnamon challenge. They were like, oh no, oh no. He's like, sir, by any chance were you doing the cinnamon challenge? No, because they didn't want to look like goofy in front of the paramedic. The paramedic's like, all right, you know what, sir? Meanwhile, there's like cinnamon on them and stuff. I'm like, Paradigm says it's easier if you just admit it. Yeah, right? That is easier. Legal says, good morning, doubles. Good morning, Legal. Vec. Hello, Vec. How you doing? Asks for FGL. Let's take a look at FGL. All right, BTCT is pulling back here, so let's take a look at FGL real quick. Let me just put this over here. Real quick. And then we will take a look at FGL for you, Vec. Give me just a second. 1 second. She said disregard FGL. Ooh. Never mind. Alright. Alright. There we go. There we go. Alright, alright, alright. Alright. Well, let's take a look over here. She said, sorry, I meant to send that earlier. It's okay. We could take a look at it if you don't mind. I'm actually kind of curious about it now, so we could take a look if you don't mind. Hold on 1 second. Let me just put this over here. And we should be good. Yeah. I'm kind of curious about FGL anyway because it did pop up a little bit, so I wanted to see what was going on with it. So it's no biggie. No biggie. Alright, there we are. Let me just put this over here real quick, and we're good. Alright, let's take a look at FGL. I am kind of curious about FGL, so let's take a look at it real quick. FGL, because I know FGL did run up quite a bit. Yeah, this stock did have a movement. Alright, so hold on 1 second. Alright, so as of now, FGL, yeah, moved up quite a bit. Now, FGL is a Malaysian stock. This stock ran up 24%, pulled up, then pulled backwards a little bit. All right. And, you know, it happens from time to time. Had a nice little move upward. Formed a bit of a resistance right at 57, pulled back. It happens from time to time. Needs to break above the 50-cent mark, which is the VWAP, for it to be somewhat interesting to Mia. Bobo Beef says, howdy, howdy, Bobo. He says, hearing you leave a Charlie, copy that, Bobo. Hope you're having a wonderful and beautiful day. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. I'm just putting there that FGL needs volume to break above that VWAP. FGL needs volume to break the VWAP at 50 cents for it to be somewhat interesting to Mia. All right, Vec asks for HUIZ. Let's take a look at HUIZ. HUIZ. All right, now HUIZ. This is Hui's Holding Limited. All right, this is a China stock, up 108%. Up 108%. All right, now let's take a look at the stock over here. All right. And Bo Beef says Loop, HUIZ, and SGLY. It's been a good morning. Good. Well, I'm glad it's been a good morning, Bobo. I'm glad you had a wonderful morning, brother. I know you. I'm glad you did. Believe it or not, HUIZ was actually called on the private Discord at 5:01 a.m. Eastern Standard Time at 33% prior to the run, up 167%. It has since pulled back a little bit, but yes, it did have a nice run. It was called on private Discord over here, right there. Boom. All right. Formed a bit of a pennant right over here. All right. So as of now, HUIZ did form a bit of a pennant, right over here. All right, and as of now, basically pulled back a little bit, started consolidating along the VWAP right there. So we'll see what goes on there. But there is a conference call in progress. There is an H1 earning that was released today before the market opened. This is a China stock. The China stocks, they tend to really like be a bit sporadic, but it'd be like that sometimes. All right, this stock did have a nice run. I will give it its flowers. It had a very nice run earlier in the day. HUIZ. All right, HUIZ. All right, needs to break the pennant and the small resistance line at, hold on, small resistance line at $3.90. $3.90. All right, that's HUIZ. All right, we called this stock early in the morning at 4:03 a.m. Excuse me, 5:03, because it's Eastern Standard Time. 5:03 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Prior to its run up 167% right there. 167% at 8:25 a.m. All right. Needs to break the pennant and the small resistance line at $3.90 right there. Needs to break that for it to be somewhat interesting to me, ladies and gentlemen. I'm also going to give it some support and resistance lines over here. Let's give it some support and resistance lines. Boom, right there. Has to break above the 419 mark, which is the high of day as well. All right, but the first resistance line that has to break is it's just above the VWAP right now. The VWAP is $2.98. Has to break above the $3.15 mark, which is the first resistance line, for it to be somewhat interesting to me. So it has to break above that. Has to break above the resistance line at $3.15. That is the first resistance for it to break, for it to be somewhat interesting to me. And it looks like it's testing resistance right now, so we'll see what happens there. We shall see what happens. HUIZ needs to break that pennant, needs to break the resistance line right there. All right. So I hope that helps, Vec. I hope that helps. Give me just a sec. Let me just put this over here. And I hope, Vec, that you are having a very wonderful day. Hope you're having a great trading day, and I hope you are doing well. All right, let's take a look over here. All right, let's take a look at what Bobo said over here. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to look at LOP. We're going to take a look at HUIZ, SGLY, and we're going to take a look at FVL, which was requested by R-Star. Actually, you know what? We'll do FVL first, and then we'll take a look at Loop and SGLY, and then we'll go back to HUIZ. So that's what we're going to do. So let's take a look at what R-Star has to say here. R-Star says FVL. Let's take a look over here. I don't think FVL is a stock. There's FGL, if that's what you mean. And FGL kind of pulled back down, fell below the VWAP, and needs to break above the VWAP at 48 cents. For it to be somewhat schmexy to me. Otherwise, meh. Alright, FGL as of now. And Vec says you too, of course. Vec, much love. Hope you're doing well. Alright. And yeah, hope you are doing well. Hope you are having a wonderful trading day. Alright, FGL. Alright, needs volume to break the VWAP at 48 cents for it to be something interesting to me. R-Star says FVL is a Canadian listing. FVL? I don't see it here.
You talking about SGLY?
No. Foxtrot Victor Lima.
FGL?
No, it's called Free Gold Limited. Oh, it's FG. Oh, it says FGOVF. Okay. over here. All right, this is a Canadian. Okay, all right, okay. This is OTC. Okay, that's why. Okay, all right, yeah. Okay, so it's not listed as FVL over there. Okay, all right, that's fine. All right, so let's take a look at this stock over here. Right off the bat, I can see that it is very choppy as of now in the RSI. All right, needs to break this choppiness right over here. All right, a lot of chop over here, and a lot of indecisive wicks and chop over here. So there's a lot of instances of it being kind of choppy, and there being just this choppy price action going on over here. All right, so it really needs to break that choppy price action for it to be somewhat interesting to me. Otherwise, not. All right, not very interesting to me. So FGOVF right there. All right, also known as FVL, as all right, which I'll put there. FVL.
OTC market.
Yep, OTC. Yep, it is the OTC market. OTC market needs a lot of volume. It will need a lot of volume, and will need a lot of to break those indecisive wicks. The indecisive wicks and choppy price action, because there's a lot of indecisive wicks there. So we'll see what goes on there. That is FVL right there. FVL, which is, all right, let's take a look at what Bobo wrote here. Loop, LOOP, loop. All right, LOOP as of now had some time in the sun a little bit. Had some time in the sun. Actually, we're going to put it over here. Hold on. LOOP. All right, this stock did move up prior to, well, we actually called this stock yesterday as well as this morning. So we called it yesterday at 4:37 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and then again, and it had a nice 119% run by that point, and then we called it again at 4:04 a.m. Eastern Standard Time prior to that run up 90% right there. So it's got that going on right there. LOOP. All right, but it's since pulled back down a little bit, so it's got that going on. It did have its moment of time in the sun. It did move up pretty well. It's a Canadian stock. Has to break above the, all right, needs to break this downtrend. It has to break above the VWAP. All right, so as of now, LOOP. We called this stock yesterday, and this morning at 4:04 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on our private Discord prior to its move up 90%, needs to break the downtrend and the VWAP at $1.05 for it to be somewhat interesting to me. There we go. All right. And that's LOOP. I'm going to put this as well over here. All right. There we go. All right. Beautiful. Okay. All right. And ladies and gentlemen, let's get a share party going on. Let's get the 400. 400. Hold on 1 second. 1 second. Hold on 1 sec. Hold on. No, I just need to make sure everything's all copacetic on X real quick. Hold on. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get the share party going. Let's get the 400. Let's get it there, ladies and gentlemen. All right, let's get that going on. All right, hold on. All right, there we go. Beautiful. Okay. All right. Good. All right. There we are. Okay, good. Alrighty. So, let's take a look at some other stocks over here. Hold on one second. Let me just put this away. Yeah, right there. Gotta just put this. Yeah, just put this right over. Yeah. Alright, there we are. Gotta put this right over Mya. Alright, and yeah. Alright, so LOP needs to break the downtrend, needs to break above $1.05 for it to continue to be somewhat schmexy to Mya. It did have that 90% run that it had going on there, so we got that going on. Yes, sir. Alright, and ladies and gentlemen, of course, be sure to join our free Discord to get access to the exclusive Discord live stream. Be sure to check that out. Be sure to check that out. And you also get access to other cool things, like, for example, our wonderful, occasional picks on the free Discord, as well as our stock reviews that we have on that free Discord as well. So be sure to check that out, ladies and gentlemen. The link to join is in the description down below, as well as the pinned comment section. So be sure to check that out. All right, be sure to check that out. And ladies and gentlemen, of course, it's more like a little bit of a sample of what we got going on in the private premium Discord. All right. Now, the private premium Discord is also in the link in the description down below, as well as the pinned comment section. All right, you get the first 4 days for only $9.99. Link to join is in the description down below, as well as the pinned comment section. So be sure to check that out, because we pick a lot of baggers. A lot of times we're just made different, and the early bird gets the cash, the moolah, the loot, the cashola, the big bucks, I tell you. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. Alright. Alright, and of course, ladies and gentlemen, be sure to check out our wonderful merch. Ladies and gentlemen, our merch. We got all sorts of cool things for the Banger Nation. We got all sorts of cool things to rep the Banger Nation. Right? We got t-shirts, we got hoodies, we've got cup and handles, aka the mugs, right? We got the tumblers, we got the stickers, mouse pads, all sorts of cool stuff. All that is in the description down below, as well as the pinned comment section. So again, be sure to check that out. Show it some love, and get yourself some Banger Nation merch. Get yourself some swag to support the community, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. So, in the meantime, while we're doing that over here, let's take a look at SGLY. SGLY now up 117%. Still below the VWAP right there. Again, has to break above that $6.68 mark right there for it to be somewhat interesting to me. Has to break that 668 mark. All right, that is the first thing it has to break above for it to be somewhat schmexy to me. All right, so let's get that over here. SGLY needs to break the VWAP at $6.68. Has to break that for it to be somewhat schmexy to me. Alright, in the meantime, let's take a look at BTCT again. BTCT still kind of not exactly obeying that cup and handle right now, forming more of what looked to be a pennant instead of a cup and handle. So we'll see what goes on there. Alright, we'll see what goes on. Looks like it's forming more of a pennant rather than anything else. Alright, boop, right there. Which, it'd be like that. Needs to break that pennant rather than, alright, and needs to break above this VWAP right over here at $1.58 for it to be somewhat schmexy to ya. But it has to do that, ladies and gentlemen. BTCT needs to break the pennant at one, alright, and the VWAP at $1.58 for it to be somewhat schmexy to ya. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's what we got going on right there. Let's take a look at some other requests. And ladies and gentlemen, if you got any requests for us, put it in the chat. Put it in the chat, ladies and gentlemen. Put it in the chat. Alright? Yes. Put it in the chat, ladies and gents. Alright? Somebody requested EVAX, EVAX. All right, let's take a look at EVAX real quick. EVAX. All right, let's take a look. All right, EVAX is currently below the VWAP, very much so below the VWAP. Has a bit of a pennant below the VWAP here. If you take a look, boom, boom, and boom. Has that pennant right there. Needs to break above this pennant, but also needs to break above this VWAP right over here at $3.65. It does have a, it is a, I think that's a, is it Denmark? That's Denmark. I was about to say Sweden. No, it's Denmark. Denmark stock up 6%. All right, does have a conference call currently in progress and some Q2 earnings released before the market open. So it's got that going on right there. It has that going on. Let's take a look over here at the float. The float is 6.9 million. Volume is 2 million. So as of now, it is a very low volume stock. Needs to break above the pennant right over here. And needs to break above this VWAP at $3.65 for it to be somewhat interesting to nya. Otherwise, not too interesting at all. Let's take a look at EV. Let's write this down. EVAX, low volume, needs to break the pennant and the VWAP at $3.65 for it to be somewhat interesting to nya. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Hold on 1 second. That's that stuff right there. Okay. MMA. All right, mixed martial arts group. This stock is moving on low volume and a bit of a heavy float right there. But it has a bit of a price spike going on low volume and a heavy float. Up 89%. So we'll see what goes on there. MMA. Price spike on low volume. All right. MMA. Heavy float. And low volume needs to break the high a day. Actually, yes, has to break the high a day, right? Because it's got support and resistance line right over here. Needs volume to break the high a day at 73 cents for it to be somewhat schmexy to nya. All right. Tajir asks for SGLY again. SGLY. Let's take a look at SGLY, see how it's doing. SGLY is poking above the VWAP right now. Poking above that VWAP at 671. Has to hold above it, though. Has to hold above the VWAP. It's testing it. It has to hold above it, though. That's the only thing with SGLY. SGLY testing and poking above the VWAP, needs volume to break the resistance line at $7.11. All right, $7.11 right there for it to be somewhat interesting to nya. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Let's take a look and see what else we got. All right, how's HUIZ looking? HUIZ curled up, pulled back down, has to curl back up and break that $3.15 mark again for it to be somewhat interesting to nya. Otherwise, We'll take a look at it a little later, keep an eye on it. But as of now, HUIZ needs volume to curl and break the resistance line at $3.15. $3.15 for it to be somewhat interesting to nya. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. MMA currently up 91% and climbing still. Needs to break the new high a day at 75 cents right there. That's MMA. Still moving on. Actually, yep, still moving on low volume. The volume is increasing, though, slightly. It is increasing. I'll give it that. MMA up 102% right there. Up 102%. There we go. All right. Needs to break the high day at 77 cents. That's the new high of day right there. For it to be so much mexy to me, needs more volume. Needs volume to keep remaining friends with the trend. Alright, that's MMA right there. MMA. Alright, there we are. There we are. Alright, alright, alright. Alright. Alright, alright, alright. Alright. There we go, there we go. Okay. So let's see what else we got. What else we got here? Alright, we got BTCT, we checked that out. LOP, we checked that out. WETO, we'll take a look at over here. WETO is a 658,000 float. Volume is 2 million, so it does have some volume to it a little bit. Alright. Let's get this over here. Boom. Needs to break this pennant right over here. Needs to break that pennant for it to be somewhat interesting to me. Alright. Alright. So, as of now, WETO needs volume to break the pennant and needs volume to break the VWAP at $31.62 for it to be somewhat interesting to me. It is a bit pricey, again, a little bit expensive because this is one of those types of stocks right there. WETO, expensive, needs to break the pennant and the VWAPA at $31.62, $31.62 for it to be somewhat schmexy to yeah. There we go. That's WETO. WETO. Hold on one second. There we go. Let's get a share party going on. Let's get to 700. 700. Alright. Okay. There we go. Alright. Just put this over here. And we should be good. Should be good. Hold on. There we are. Alright, good. Alright. Let's take a look at another stock over here. RITR. Alright, needs to break this downtrend right over here. Actually, it's not really much of a downtrend. It's just pretty much a pennant right here. Alright, needs to break the pennant. Alright, and it looks like it's trying to curl off that pennant right now already. It looks like it's trying to curl off the pennant slightly. We'll see what happens. Can it break that pennant and can it hold above that pennant right there? Alright, SGLY, or no, excuse me, RITR needs to, alright, trying to break above the pennant. Trying to break the pennant. Needs volume to break the VWAP at 17 cents right there. 17 cents. That's RITR. Alright, that's what we got going on right there. Alright. OMH is a very interesting one. Let's take a look at it. Has a 28 million float, which is a heavy float. Volume is 258 million, however. So it's got that going on right there. Alright, but this stock obviously needs to break the... Alright, this stock formed a bit of a pennant as well, right over here. A little bit of actually slight descending wedge. A little bit. Needs to break this pennant, honestly. I think it's just a pennant. Needs to break this pennant. Needs to break the VWAP right over here at 13 cents for it to be somewhat interesting to me. That's OMH. OMH needs to break the pennant and the VWAP at 13 cents right there for it to be somewhat interesting to yeah. Yes, sir. All right. All right. That's OMH right there. OMH. All right. Let's take a look at another stonk here. Let's take a look at another stonk. Oh, hold on 1 second. There we are. All right. And yeah. All right. All right. EVAX. EVAX. Yep. Went down. Dropped like a rock. EVAX. That was requested earlier. Wanted to keep an eye on it. EVAX dropped like a rock. Needs volume to break the pennant and the VWAP at $3.64 for it to be somewhat interesting to me. Otherwise, not interesting at all. Right there. All right, we took a look at Loop and HUIZ. All right, so we got that going on right there. That is what we got going on right there. Okay. All right. We're going to take a look at SGLY, see how it's doing. Actually, you know what? Let me take a look at HUIZ, see how that's doing right there. HUIZ looks to be curling its way on up, curling. All right, pulled back just a little bit, but then decided to curl its way back up. All right. Broke the resistance at $3.15, testing another resistance at $3.55 right there. So that's HUIZ. HUIZ broke resistance at $3.15. Testing the next resistance line at $3.55 right there. All right. Needs to break above that $3.55 mark, and then has to break the high day at $4.19 for it to be somewhat interesting to me. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. BTCT. BTCT. All right. Looks like it's trying to curl its way on up. Trying to curl its way on up over here. All right. Needs to break that VWAP right there for it to be somewhat interesting to me. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. BTCT. BTCT needs volume curling off the pennant and needs to break the VWAP at $1.58 for it to be somewhat interesting to me. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. Let's get a share party going, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get to 900. 900, 900, 900. Let's get to 900, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. Hold on 1 second. 1 second. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. Okay. Let's see what else we got going on. What else we got? What else we got? All right. We took a look at HUIZ. We're going to take a look at another stock just appeared, BEM. This one is a heavy float, light volume stock right here. Let's take a look at it real quick. I want to keep an eye on it here. Yep, very choppy price action over here. All right. This is an American stock up 25%. Beam Global shares are trading higher after the company reported better than expected Q2 financial results. However, it is still a very low volume stock. All right, heavy float, low volume right there. So let me actually take this. All right, lot of indecisive and choppiness over here. A lot of indecisive wicks, a lot of choppiness. All right, a lot of instances of it right over here and over here. All right. but it does look like it is trying to move its way on up, so I'll keep note of that. But as of now, there's a very low float, heavy volume, heavy float, low volume stock right there. All right, BEM, heavy float and low volume right there. Needs to break the VWAP at $1.55. $1.55 for it to be somewhat schmexy to meow. That's BEM. All right. Very choppy as of now. So not too schmexy to me. All right. So we'll see what goes on there. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. Let's take a look here. Let's see what else we got going on. I'm going to go back to SGLY. SGLY, let's take a look at it, see how it's doing. It's just consolidated a bit below, just along the VWAP right over here. A little bit consolidated along the VWAP, so we'll see what happens. Has to break above $7.11. All right, consolidated along the VWAP, has to break above $7.11 right there for it to be interesting to me. SGLY. Consolidated along the VWAPA, needs to break the pennant, which it looks like it's trying to do, and the resistance line at $7.11. $7.11 for it to be somewhat interesting to yeah. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. Needs to break that $7.11 mark right there for it to be somewhat schmexy to yeah. Yes, sir. All right. And let's get a share party going, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get to 1100. 1100, 1100, 1100. All right. Let's get to 1100, ladies and gentlemen. All right. All right, all right, all right. All right. Okay. So, we got SGLY. All right. Going to take a look at BTCT. See how it's doing. How you doing? Let's see. It's trying to curl. It is trying to curl a little bit. It is trying to curl a little bit right there. It's like an awkward cup and handle right here. Awkward cup and handle. So it is trying to curl a little bit off that cup and handle right there. It was a pretty awkward cup and handle, though, I will admit, because it did like go down a little bit before curling its way on up. But hey, it'd be like that. It is a cup and handle, so I guess there we go. All right, we'll see how far it goes, though. It has to break above $1.58 for it to be really interesting to me. All right, but BTCT curling up off the cup and handle. Ball pattern needs volume to break the VWAPA at $1.58 for it to be somewhat schmexy to yeah. There we go. There we go. All right. MMA. Let's take a look at it. All right. MMA needs to break the pennant. Needs to break the pennant right here. Needs to break the pennant and needs to break above 62 cents for it to be somewhat schmexy to mya. MMA needs to break the pennant and the resistance line at 62 cents. Needs to break that for it to be somewhat schmexy to me. Alright. Alright. Okay. That's MMA right there. Alright. And let's take a look over here. Alright, hold on. RITR, I'm going to take a look at RITR. Has a 17 million float, 321 million volume. So let's see what RITR's got going on right here. Still a bit consolidated along the VWAP along the pennant right here. Still a bit consolidated below the VWAP. So we'll see what happens. RITR. Still consolidated below the VWAP. Needs to break the pennant and the VWAP at 17 cents for it to be somewhat schmexy to me. Yes, sir. Alright. Alright. And let's get a share party going. Let's get to 1300. 1300. Excuse me, 1200. Yes. Let's get to 1200, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Alright. Alright. There we are. Yes. Yes, sir. Alright. HUIZ. How's HUIZ holding up? Alright. HUIZ. Okay. It is still a bit below the $3.55 resistance line right there. Alright, so it has to break above that $3.55 mark for it to be somewhat interesting to me. Yes. So it is currently consolidated just below it right there. It needs to break 355. HUIZ still needs volume to break the resistance line at $3.55 right there. Alright. So that's what we got going on right there. That is what we got going on. Alright. BTCT is still trying to make that curl, but needs to break the 158 market, which is the VWAP right there. BTCT still needs to break the VWAP at 158 for it to be somewhat interesting to me. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, that's pretty much it for me. So, thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, as well as ring that bell icon to stay notified when new videos are uploaded. And remember to share, because sharing is caring, ladies and gentlemen. Sharing is caring. And, of course, if you want access to our private Discord, link to join is in the description down below, as well as the pinned comment section, so be sure to check that out. We pick a lot of baggers a lot of times. We're just made different, and the early bird gets the cash. The moolah, loot, the cashola, the big bucks, I tell you. All right? And ladies and gentlemen, of course, you can find us on our YouTube channel at CoachNickMoney. At CoachNickMoney. Be sure to check us out on our X.com, a.k.a. Twitter, at CoachNickMoney. At CoachNickMoney. You can find us on our Twitch, at CoachNickMoney. At CoachNickMoney. And you can find us on our Facebook, at CoachNickMoney. At CoachNickMoney. You can find us on our TikTok, Tiki-Taki, a.k.a. the Tac. The Tac. You can find us there at DBL Nicks. At DBL Nicks, and the screen name is CoachNickMoney. Alright. Money. Yes. You can find us on our Instagram and Threads as well at CoachNickMoney. At CoachNickMoney. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Alright. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, be sure to check out our free Discord to see the Discord exclusive live streams, the Discord exclusive content, the free Discord exclusive reviews, and all those other things right there. Be sure to check out all that stuff out and more. We got all that in the description as well as the pinned comment section, so be sure to check it out, ladies and gentlemen. Be sure to check it out and show it some love, ladies and gents. That's what we got going on right there. All right. We also have the 1:30 p.m. show, Power Play, hosted by the legend himself, Coach Nick Money, as he traverses the stock market prior to the Power Hour. And what he likes to do is he likes to basically take a look at some stocks, review them, Likes to give his honest analysis on them. Then he likes to let them simmer on high heat with a little bit of paprika, a little bit of sazon, a little bit of cumin, a little bit of turmeric, all that good stuff right there. A little bit of tagine, which, by the way, they're doing like a Taco Bell thing with that. Tagine, you know, I'm just saying. Anyways, but yeah, they got that going on. So, ladies and gentlemen, be sure to check that out. Be sure to check it out. All right, and of course, ladies and gentlemen, you know, be sure to show some love to the Coach Meister General, who's going to be starting a new season. A new season of Fortnite at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So you got that going on right there, and he collected all 117 sprites. So yeah, show him some love there. Show him some love at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Yes, sir. All right. Also, quick thing before we wrap up. If you guys have been watching and you're serious about trading small caps, don't just sit on the outside trying to piece it together. We've got a 4-day full access pass for only $9.99, and it's full access, so you come inside, you get to see how we actually operate live. You get to see how we structure trade ideas, how we map levels, how we think about risk, how we handle momentum. You get access to the next day early watch list, as well as the 24/7 market news flow, all right, which is actually on the right-hand side of the screen, complete with the title of the article, as well as the actual synopsis of the article, as well as a hyperlink to the ticker that is affiliated with the news of said article. So be sure to check that out. All that is just information and due diligence at the touch of a button. Be sure to check it out. You also get pre-market, regular hours, and after-hours scanners, all right, with float, volume, catalyst, context, and hyperlinks as well, built right in. So all you got to do is just click that. Boom, you're set. You're good. All you got to do, that's it. Due diligence. Boom, right there. All right. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, you get access to our ticker tape, built to catch stocks when they're starting to heat up, but before they go parabolic, because, you know, and those also have hyperlinks as well, because, ladies and gentlemen, we don't do noise, we do structure. And if that's how you want to approach this market, grab the 4-day pass and come see it live. The link to join us in the description down below, as well as the pinned comment section, so be sure to check it out. And when you comment, let us know you saw us on the stream. We'd love to hear from you. All right? So that's what we got going on right there. All right? So again, stay tuned for the 1:30 p.m. episode of Power Play, hosted by the legend himself, CoachNickMoney. Be sure to check out our free Discord, and if you want access to the 4-day trial, be sure to check that out as well. All those have the link in the description. Be sure to check out the merch. We got all sorts of cool stuff. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, cup and handles. We got the little mugs. We got the little, what you call it there, the tumblers. We got mouse pads. We even have stickers and other cool stuff. So that's pretty much it for me. Much love. Take care of yourselves. Have a wonderful day. I'll see you at 1:30 p.m. for Power Play. Much love.